Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Well, 2 men are in custody tonight after a dramatic evade came to a crashing end in Launceston. Police say the BMW's tyres were spiked 3 times along the West Tamar Highway before it made its way through busy CBD traffic and came to a sudden halt in Invermay.
Screeching through town. These were the final moments of a dramatic journey that started at Beauty Point just before lunchtime.
We observed the vehicle travelling in a southerly direction on West Tamar Highway and north of Exeter. A spike deployment was made, which we believe was successful.
Another 2 road spikes were deployed further down the highway, leaving the BMW with just 1 functioning wheel. The car then made its way down Brisbane Street in Launceston. Minutes later, it was dumped near Seaport after smashing into these concrete barriers. 2
male occupants left the vehicle and were pursued by police. 1 male was found located very close to the scene, and the second male, who we will allege is the driver, was located in a residence very close by the crash site.
2 other vehicles, including this Kluger, were damaged, leaving other drivers in shock. Police say the BMW wasn't stolen, and at no time did they believe the 27-year-old driver, who was wanted on other matters, exceeded the speed limit.
The vehicle wasn't losing control. There was no concern there in relation to the driving manner was such that we continued to follow the vehicle.
Anyone who witnessed the car travelling in the West Tamar and Launceston regions is being urged to contact police. Charges are expected to be laid against the driver and 60-year-old passenger tonight. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
A 58-year-old Dodgers ferryman has died following a car crash near Fawcett this afternoon. Emergency services were called to the scene on Wiggins Road just before 2 p.m. after the man's car collided with a tree. Speed has been ruled out as a cause of the tragedy.
We'll conduct full inquiries for the coroner, including the environmental condition of the vehicle, but also of the driver. But due to the low speed involved and the lack of damage to the vehicle, it's possible that the driver suffered medical condition.
Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. A trial has begun in the Launceston Supreme Court for a former Labor senator accused of trafficking abalone. Shane Murphy and his wife Ruhalu are accused of possessing, processing, selling and transporting 186 abalone without the appropriate licences. The jury heard the couple was allegedly in the process of sending 3 boxes of the product to Melbourne in December 2015. The trial is expected to take between 3 to 4 days and will hear from 10 witnesses. Public Health has announced Tasmania's borders will reopen to Melbourne in just a matter of hours. For more, our reporter Meg Sides joins us now. Meg, what are the latest developments?
Well, Kim, late this afternoon, metropolitan Melbourne was reclassified as a low-risk area, meaning travel restrictions will be lifted from midnight. It comes as the city's COVID outbreak has finally been brought under control, with only 1 locally acquired case in the past 24 hours. Restrictions will still remain for anyone who has been in a high-risk location, though specific areas are detailed on the Public Health website. Now, the border changes also mean anyone currently in quarantine who hasn't been to one of those locations will be able to leave from midnight tonight. And while some areas in New South Wales, the ACT and Queensland still remain high risk, Kim, I'm sure the changes today will be welcomed by many.
Definitely so. Thanks very much, Meg. The Premier is expected to face more scrutiny over disgraced Liberal candidate Adam Brooks when Parliament returns tomorrow. The Greens are also preparing to mount a new fight over a proposed mine expansion on the state's west coast.
Taking the wheel for another term in government.
Can we see your passes, please?
100 buses, all Tasmanian made, have now been delivered to Metro.
We have more on the way with a further order of 26, so that will take production into the future.
Really a much better experience for our customers and for our drivers, much safer and much better for our community, much lower emissions.
All sides will be back on board for Parliament tomorrow, sitting for the first time since the state election. In Labor's sights, Premier Peter Gutwein and what he knew about criminal allegations against Liberal candidate Adam Brooks.
There is a shadow that's been cast over the Premier and his conduct and his relationship with Adam Brooks, his candidature, the role of the Liberal Party the role of the nominations, what the Premier knew.
Peter Gutwin is also facing calls to intervene at the MMG mine in Rosebery. Operators are planning to expand waste storage. The Greens argue the proposal will trash the Tarkine.
The most important and pressing issues to us are the state of the climate and the proposal to put a toxic mine dump in Takena, the Tarkine.
The government has already outlined its early agenda for Parliament, including a bill to increase the first homeowners grant. With the election drama now fading, the wheels of politics keep turning. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
The Hobart City Council has been flooded with feedback as the deadline looms for one of the state's largest and most controversial projects. More than 7,000 people have so far expressed a view on the Mount Wellington cable car as the proposal enters uncharted territory.
For Carl Rawlings, the peace and quiet is one of the highlights of living at the base of Mount Wellington, but he's concerned that could all change if a cable car is ever built.
We're all very concerned here on Old Farm Road about the impacts down low on the mountain in the area of their proposed base station.
He's one of thousands who have made a formal representation to the Hobart Council before submissions close tomorrow.
I think people are just frustrated and over it, quite frankly. How many times do people have to keep standing up and defending their mountain?
A group of Aboriginal heritage officers also voicing their concerns, calling for the project to be scrapped.
We've said from the get-go that we don't support it. It's not an appropriate type of development in our view. It impacts on our cultural values.
But the Mount Wellington Cableway Company says it's received positive feedback.
What we are trying to do is to build a cableway that will run on renewable energy, that will get vehicles off the road and that will provide a facility on top of the mountain that all Tasmanians can be proud of.
I think that the debate's been very slanted to a small group of people who are totally opposed to a cable car and want to hold back the whole of the state from being able to enjoy Mount Wellington.
The countdown now on for those still wanting to have their say.
Now is the opportunity for anyone who loves the mountain, who uses it for recreation, for solace, for any other kind of connection at a personal level. Now is the opportunity to stand up.
A decision from Council expected by the end of next month.
I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. There has to be a better way to look after the mountain than we're currently doing it.
Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
The final boulder has been brought down on the Tasman Highway near Paradise Gorge. The state government says it was toppled yesterday, marking nearly 1,500 tonnes of rock removal since the road was closed 3 weeks ago. Teams will shift their focus to smaller debris over the coming weeks. The highway is due to open next month. Tasmanian winemakers are warning a lack of pickers may push some vineyards to the limits next season. It's one of the few problems facing the industry, which has rebounded from a 5-year low.
Nestled on the outskirts of Hobart sits the newest player in Tasmania's wine game.
Look, we're really excited about what we have here.
50 hectares of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay vines at Pontos Hills to serve those who salivate over sparkling.
It's something that doesn't seem to have dropped off during the period of COVID.
The boom for bubbly has helped lift vintage numbers by around 15% on 2020's 5-year low.
It's good to see a return to what I guess we would consider average volumes being harvested.
Though it's not all red and rosy. At Joseph Cromie near Launceston, hot days over the past 6 months have been at a minimum.
We had one of the coolest years in the last sort of 12 years.
Making managing the threat of disease an ongoing challenge.
We were worried about that, so we really opened our canopies, reduced our crops so we can sort of reduce that risk.
Industry leaders say despite lower yield numbers over the past 2 years, many wineries were run off their feet as border closures made it difficult to find staff.
Quite an international contingent that we've missed keenly.
If a lack of pickers becomes a pinch point again next year, depends on the weather.
Again, it comes down to Mother Nature in terms of how many wine grapes we need to harvest and in what period of time we need to do that.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
$200 million forestry research hub could become a reality in Launceston under an ambitious new plan from the Forest Products Association and the University of Tasmania. It would see scientific research into clean and renewable wood-based products. The pair is lobbying the federal government to fund half the costs of the facility, with industry to provide the rest. A quirky statistic now, Tasmania posted the highest attendance for an AFL match in round 14. Yesterday's Hawks Bombers blockbuster drew 14,834 fans to UTAS Stadium. That figure is more than double the next highest attendance. Just over 7,000 who went to the Port Adelaide Gold Coast game at Metricon Stadium. AFL will make its way to the state for the third week in a row when North Melbourne hosts the Suns in Hobart on Saturday. We've had footy's big freeze. Now it's Antarctica's turn to take the bone-chilling dip. Brave expeditioners plunged into a man-made pool through the ice during a brief window of sunlight as the air around them plummeted to -9 degrees.
These researchers really do have ice in their veins. Self-punishment seems to be in the job description for our Antarctic team. They carved the polar pool themselves using chainsaws to cut through the ice nearly a metre thick. The water hovers around 2 degrees, the air around them -9. Everyone had a brave face. The long-standing dip is a winter solstice tradition. Casey Research Station has only 2.5 hours of sunlight each day this time of year. Surviving the plunge means the worst is behind them.
For us expeditioners who are down south, it represents a day of tradition, a day of honouring those who've come before us, and a day of celebrating our achievements on reaching the halfway point of winter.
Macquarie Islands workers also threw common sense out the window, going for their own solstice swim.
This is my first Macquarie Island swim.
He even went back for seconds.
The sheer thrill of the swim was only offset by losing my goggles and a dumper.
If that's the worst of it, you've probably done pretty well. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
And more than 12,000 Tasmanians have braved the cold, baring their legs in the name of charity. Students at the Hutchins School donned their favourite shorts as part of the new Speak Up, Stay Chatty campaign. Aligning with the shortest day of the year, the initiative is all about sparking conversations and raising funds for mental health.
It's always a great first step to check in, whether that be a text, whether that's just saying, hey, I've noticed you've been acting a little bit different lately, or that's just inviting them out for a cup of coffee or maybe to go for a run or go for a walk.
We know we're making a difference with the conversations, etc., like you just mentioned, in days like today, but there's so much more work to do and so many different ways in which we can make a difference.
The money raised from the day will go back into helping promote positive mental health. Original photos of Tasmania dating back more than 100 years are up for sale. The glass plate negatives provide a snapshot of Tasmanian towns as they looked at the turn of last century. They're part of a collection by the Rose Stereograph Company, which took the photos for postcards in the travel industry. Lloyd's Auctions says it has had inquiries from the Apple Isle.
Lots of interest from Tasmania, lots of interest from everywhere, including the UK as well. There's been a bit of interest around perhaps what's argued is the first known image of Queen Elizabeth as a baby.
More than 100,000 individual items are being auctioned in the collection.
We'll take a look now at the Cripps TSL Player of the Year votes after round 12. Kingborough's Ed Cole had the biggest slice of the action against Clarence, claiming 3 votes. Likewise, Ed Stanley of Lauderdale, who was best on ground against the Demons. And not only did Jay Blackberry break the TSL Games record, he also claimed best on ground honours in the Blues belting of Glenorchy. It lifts Blackberry to 14 votes, putting him within reach of Jay Foon on 16. Jake Hines is on 12, Dylan Riley is on 9. A mid-race mishap has cost Daniel Watkins in Germany's Canoe Slalom World Cup. After qualifying third, Watkins copped a 2-second gate penalty and then misjudged the next gate to finish 17th in last night's semi-final. It's the second week in a row the Tasmanian has missed the cut-off for the finals. He'll spend the next 2 weeks training with the team in Europe before heading to Tokyo to make his Olympics debut. Alex Peroni has powered back from a collision early in last night's Indy Lights race in Wisconsin. Needing a front wing change after the crash, the Tasmanian dropped to last place. But he made up for lost time, making a serious challenge for a podium finish on the final lap. He ended up finishing 4th, having come back from 12th. Peroni is 7th in the championship standings, halfway through the 20-race series. To local soccer, Clarence Zebras have a simple focus, starting faster after they stole an unlikely victory from Launceston United in the Women's Super League. The side was 2-0 down early in the second half, but rallied to score a blistering 3 goals in only 20 minutes. But players concede they can't always afford to leave it that late in the match.
We know we've got the potential to score goals with the players that we've got. Just move the ball a little bit quicker.
Zebras will take on Devonport this weekend. The Northwest Thunder will welcome Mike Carina from the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix now the side's NBL season is over. The New Zealand-born 6'8" forward will suit up for the Thunder for this weekend's match against Bendigo.
Good evening. Great to be back on the shortest day of the year and a pretty cold one as well. Not the best day to be wearing shorts to work as we have those conversations about men's mental health. Hobart and Devonport 13 today, Burnie 12, Launceston scrambled to just 10 degrees. Top was 15 at Strawn and the Bass Strait Islands, while Butler's Gorge dropped to -2. St Helens 14 degrees, Low Head and Friendly Beaches 13, Grove 11, Ooze 8 and Lyawini 7. Extensive cloud gathered over northern Tasmania today, just some patchy cloud elsewhere around the state. Looking further up the picture, more patchy cloud over southeastern regions, a large band of cloud extending across central areas as well. Tomorrow the high drifts over the Tasman Sea, pushing a northerly airstream our way. A cold front crosses South Australia and an associated low to the west. Northeast and northwesterly winds tomorrow up to around 15 knots, but at 10 to 20 knots down the west coast, swells at 2.5 metres. Hobart, a mostly sunny 13 tomorrow. Adventure Bay, a bit of sunshine as well, 12 the top, -1 for Tarraleah, early frost, but a sunny afternoon and 10 the top. 13 for Launceston and partly cloudy as well for Devonport, 13, 14 the high for Bridport. Burnie expecting 13 degrees and partly cloudy, bit of sun over Strawn, 14 the top and 13 for Marrawar. For St Helens tomorrow a top of 14, sunny for Swansea as well, 13, 15 the high for Whitemark on Flinders Island. On to Wednesday, the next cold front is due with rain developing over the north with showers pushing statewide in the afternoon and evening. Not a bad shot, this makes me look a little bit smaller. The chance of showers again on Thursday, a possible thunderstorm over the Bass Strait Islands, and on Friday showers long with south-east to southwesterly winds. Partly cloudy and cool in Perth tomorrow. Late rain forecast for Adelaide. Sunny in Melbourne, 18. And a shower for Sydney. And 22 and cloudy in Brisbane. Clear in Hobart, currently 8 degrees. 8 and cloudy in Launceston, mostly cloudy in Devonport and 9 degrees. Kim, I'm suggesting the Speak Up Stay Chatty campaign. It was a huge success. Wearing shorts today, no problem for me. Been wearing them for the past month.
Oh, rub it in, you've been on holidays, and I really feel like I should issue an apology to all our viewers after that weather segment and those legs. Welcome back to you, Murph. We have missed your antics, we have.